Hey everyone, welcome to the channel and another review. I just got back from seeing Marry Me at the theater, so let's talk about it. To begin, I'll just read off a brief synopsis just to give the context of the film in case you haven't seen any trailers for it. So this movie is about music superstars Kat Valdez and Bastian are getting married before a global audience of fans. But when Kat learns, seconds before her vows, that Bastian has been unfaithful, she decides to marry Charlie, a stranger in the crowd, instead. So, my background coming into this movie, I'd seen a few trailers for it in movies in the recent weeks at the theater, so I was aware of it. And I mean, I'm not the biggest rom-com fan, but I enjoy some of them here and there. I think my favorites would probably be Crazy Rich Asians and Game Night, if you consider that a rom-com. So, I mean, there have been ones that I've liked. There's others that I don't care for as much. But for this one, I mean, I recognized some of the actors, whether that was Jennifer Lopez, whether that was Owen Wilson or John Bradley. I mean, on that note, this is now two movies in 2 weeks that I've seen John Bradley in, and it's been, years since I saw him on Game of Thrones. So it's interesting to get a big dose of him within a condensed bit of time here. But yeah, so recognizing some of the actors, it was had my interest and figured I'd check it out. So yeah, with that, let's just get into what I thought about the movie. We'll first start off with what I liked. And for that, I thought I really liked the two main characters in this movie. I actually bought the rom-com aspect of it, that they they just played their parts very believably, and I thought the characters were written well. But also the actors, I thought, did a great job. I mean, Jennifer Lopez, she very obviously can play a superstar. So I am a little curious, how much acting she has to do versus how much she has to. I mean, it's still acting at the end of the day, even if you're acting like yourself. But I'm curious if or how much easier it made it for her to play this part given her background. And then Owen Wilson, I thought he played a very convincing, middle-aged single dad, math teacher, introvert sort of character. Definitely somebody that I don't know. You could see, yeah, throughout the film, just like the wheels turning inside of his head as he's, thinking about things and reacting to situations. And I thought that was very convincing and good job acting on his part. The movie overall, I thought was a lot of fun. It had me smiling or laughing numerous times throughout the movie. I thought it was fairly lighthearted, and in particular, Jimmy Fallon had me laughing a couple times. They have a couple of segments of him doing his talk show, and for some of those, he's making comments or jokes about some of the characters, and you're sitting there watching him make jokes about them like through their eyes, like they're watching it on TV. So you're like, I don't know if I should laugh at this or feel sorry for this character, but it was still funny enough where I was still laughing. But all right, and so the last thing that I liked about this film is that it had a strong message to tell, or several messages, and a lot of times you don't necessarily get that with rom-com, other than kind of the generic message that all of them try to tell. But with this one, you had the main character, Kat. She was saying towards the beginning of the film, like commenting on how our society still expects these kind of stereotype norms, that is always the man that has to propose, and the woman changes her name and things like that. And why are things still that way? And if you want to see a change, you got to make the change yourself. And I think that's a very powerful message, and it's true. Like you can't expect the world to change if you're not going to change. So you got to be that change. The other kind of message or observation that's made again through Kat's character is that she says that marriage is like a math problem. You keep trying until you get it right. Like, just because you get it wrong doesn't mean you pack up your books and go home. No, you keep trying. And I think that can be generalized to life in general. And I think that's a very good analogy, especially for me. I always liked math in school, so I can relate. Like, yeah, I was never satisfied until I could actually solve it, and I wouldn't give up if I got to the end and the answer wasn't right. But yeah, in giving that comment or observation in the movie, she definitely reminded me a lot of Ted Mosby from the show How I Met Your Mother, and just having this seemingly like always positive outlook on, the fact that you're going to find that person or the right person for you, even if, you're finding plenty of people before that person that are definitely not the right one. So that was How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorite shows, and I thought that was yeah, it just reminded me of that. So that was interesting. Yeah, another comment that Kat's character makes, and this is as she's trying to, resolve things trying to figure out what she wants, and given that, Bastian was unfaithful, and she's, reflecting on it, and she's like, it's, no one's totally bad or no one's all bad, and that just makes things harder, which is, I think, another just very good observation and very rings true. There's in real life, people aren't sorted into black and white. Everybody's in the middle, and it does make things challenging. So, and then lastly, I think this isn't like a message that any of the characters say, but it's a message I think the movie shows, which I think is also very important. And it's that, when you're in a relationship with somebody, that relationship shouldn't transform you into a like completely different person. And they do that by, they show the counterexample to that, which isn't saying you shouldn't change at all, but you should be challenged to, grow as a person and become a better person. And they demonstrate that through both of the main characters. The Cat pushing Charlie to go outside of his comfort zone, getting into social media and stuff like that, math teachers or introverts, not to necessarily stereotype, but at least his character is not very much into those things, and he pushes her not to, have to rely on so many people and just kind of live life herself and a bit more independently. And yeah, I think telling those or showing those, not even just telling, is showing us it, very clearly communicates that message to the audience. So I thought that was very well done in the film. And my last point that I liked about the film is how the music supported the narrative. A lot of times in rom-coms, if you get like a song throughout, like maybe a collage of scenes, then it'll just be kind of a random song. But for here, given that the main character is a music star, then working in her music and having it be her story and her experiences, I think just improves that aspect of the film a lot more and kind of gives it a leg up on other rom-coms for that reason. And those are the things I liked about the film. There were a few things I didn't care for as much. I wouldn't necessarily say there was anything I directly disliked about the film. These are just kind of middle of the road things. So the first I would say is a fairly weak supporting cast. I thought, yeah, while the main characters and the main actors did a really good job, nobody in the supporting cast really stood out. I mean, you've got John Bradley basically doing his 21st century Samuel Tarly to the T. But that fit the character. It wasn't bad acting on his part. It's just fairly straightforward character, nice guy there to support the main characters. And yeah, kind of same goes across the board. There aren't really any standouts or anything all that noteworthy. Pretty generic for a rom-com. But I would have liked to have seen a bit more of the Bastian character. I think they try to paint him a bit in a sympathetic light, not totally, but I think they try to paint him as a more complex character, but they don't quite achieve that. So I mean, they try to throughout the film, after he's unfaithful, he asks for a second chance, and I think, I don't know. I never really bought that he was earnest in that. So I think they were trying to do that, but it didn't really come across. And so maybe he was, but I thought if that's what they were trying to do, that character could have maybe been written a bit better. And then Lou, who's Charlie's daughter, I thought was a very generic, kid of a single parent who's, she's 12 years old, doesn't really doesn't she's kind of breaking away from her dad as far as trying to become independent and find her way. And I think that's that's what kids do, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. And as it is with these sort of things, the child only then gets closer with their parent if the parent changes, which I don't know if that's necessarily the right message to be sending. I think we always change as people, and it's not to say that parents should never change to try to get closer with their kids, but like for how often it comes up in movies, I don't know that it's always on the parents to do that, especially for in this case, I think Charlie's actually doing a pretty good job as a dad. But she's not interested and doesn't want to hear it until Kat's character actually comes into his life. So I thought that wasn't necessarily the best message in the film, but another thing I'm kind of mixed on is some of the concert scenes, like when they're performing the songs in the movie, they were filmed to look like a real concert. Like it felt like it was footage from, say, like the Super Bowl halftime show. Like it didn't feel like it was a movie or cinematic. And yeah, I just don't really know how to feel about that. It seemed kind of weird and out of place, but maybe it was good that they did that. I don't know. It's just something that stood out to me in the film, but it wasn't really either positive or negative, just kind of interesting. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty standard outline for a rom-com. I mean, if you've seen any rom-coms, you can tell the story, what's going to happen in the first act, the second act, and the third act, without going into specifics to avoid spoilers. But I mean, you can figure that out. But again, that's not to knock the film. It's just kind of pointing that out. But that's not really the point of rom-coms, is to tell the best story. So. But yeah, overall, just kind of some mixed feelings. Nothing bad that I can say about it though. And yeah, overall, I had fun with this film. If rom-coms aren't your thing, this isn't going to be the movie that converts you to rom-coms and changes your mind. But if you enjoy rom-coms, I think you'll enjoy this one. I at least did, and it's one that I would recommend if you in general like rom-com. So I would place this in the good category, breaking it down, if placing into great, good, meh, or bad. I think it's in the good category, maybe on the lower end, but still good. And yeah, one that I would recommend. So that does it for my review for Marry Me. If you've had a chance to see Marry Me, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Did you enjoy it and that sort of thing down in the comments below. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed this review, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe so you don't miss my next review. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.